Good morning, everybody. Today, actually, when I woke up, I was thinking about the challenges I'll be facing. So the first challenge was Dr. Saleh always keeps me chairing or coordinating the first session before prayers. So timekeeping, that was one challenge. So I think the first presentation was good. Second was, I have to speak about corneal hysteresis, and he gave me 15 minutes. I was thinking, what can I put in my slides to fill in the time? The third thing was, how can I engage you in such a talk, which can be boring? And given the fact that the previous presenter was speaking about smartphones, everybody's interested in smartphones. I don't know how many of the audience would be interested in corneal hysteresis. So those are really real challenges before I start my talk. So if I can really engage you with me, I think I can engage my kids when I teach them, if I can, because this is really, I know it will be boring. The fourth one is what's so-called CH, and I'll be talking about CH soon. That's a real challenge, okay? Where's the pointer? This is the pointer? And how can I move my slides? Because it's different. So I declare, unfortunately, no financial interest in this. This is my outline. First, I'll speak about definitions. Definitions, I think, are the most difficult part of my talk. Then I'll be speaking slowly about corneal biomechanics and hysteresis, CH, and I'll tell you the story of CH later on, rigidity factor, and then, or what's so-called corneal rigidity factor, biomechanics changes, with age, biomechanics, and keratoconus, and then finally with cross-linking. So let us define elasticity. Elasticity is basically the ability of the substance to come back to where it was before you apply stress. So that's the elasticity. And then there is the viscosity, and the viscosity is the amount of change that happen in any substance when you apply pressure. That's why the cornea is a viscoelastic material. So whenever you apply a force, what happens? Your cornea will change in the structure, and then because of the elasticity, it will come back to where it was. So I'll continue defining those. So biomechanical stress, when we apply, not me, when we apply biomechanical stress, it's actually the force you apply on a unit area. Any given unit area is biomechanical stress. And then the biomechanical strain. So when you apply the stress, meaning when you apply the force on the cornea, you'll induce a strain on that tissue. So here, keep up with my animations. So we have stress, we have strain, we are applying the stress on two materials, and these two materials, one is highly elastic, and we can see that when you stress a higher elasticity material, it will deform less. And if it's low elasticity, it will deform more. To the contrary of what we understand. So where are we using what's so-called ORA, or ocular response analyzer? Generally, it's used in the refractive surgery, assessment of keratoconus, cornea cross-linking, and the effect of it, IOP, and I think it was created for our glaucoma colleagues. So CH, what's the story of CH? Actually, when I was preparing my talk, I was just imagining the audience. The ladies, when they hear the word CH, this is what comes to their mind. And the men, this is what goes on in their mind, because they think the money will fly. So this was another challenge. So ladies, they will buy whatever bags. So CH is a brand. I have no financial interest again here, but ladies, they think CH is a brand. So this was another challenge. So here, I think this is a busy slide relatively. I'll be speaking about the machine. So the machine basically what it does, there is an air jet, there is an infrared receiver that receives the corneal concavity, and then the air jet presses on the cornea, and this is the pressure, and it makes it go, creating concavity. And at that time, the pressure here, which is called P1, will be measured, and then the spike will go on, and now the cornea will be coming back towards where it's supposed to be, because now the pressure is going down, the air is going down, and then here, what's going to happen, another puff will come, and this will be called P2. Always P2 is lower than P1 because of the corneal tissue. P1 is always higher. So when we talk about corneal hysteresis, CH, we are not talking about bags. We are talking basically the difference between P1 and P2 on the cornea. And this is what was defined as corneal hysteresis. Okay, if you get this, I think you are getting most of the talk here. And then what they looked at as well what we call it corneal rigidity. The corneal rigidity, I'll be defining it later, but basically corneal rigidity, so the corneal hysteresis, actually it's a property of the cornea that's related to the first and the second pressure and the difference between them. When we come to the corneal resistance factor basically it's an indicator of the whole resistance of the cornea, and basically what it involves is a P1 minus K times P2. So it takes in consideration the two P's, but there is a factor that they have to apply, and it's a linear relationship with it. This one, the CRF, not chronic renal failure, but it's CRF. The CRF actually is get affected with the CCT and the IOP, unlike the corneal hysteresis. So there are certain facts that has been shown, whether invasively or uninvasively, especially in labs, where they removed parts of the corneas and from different parts, and what they concluded, corneal elastic strength is a function of the depth. So we know that the strength of the lamellae decreases as we go deeper. This is number one, and I think this is what everybody was alluding to yesterday when we were talking about corneal cross-linking. Corneal stiffness increases with the age. So we know that the patients who are growing older, they will have, their cornea will become stiffer, and their reading will be less. The paracentral and peripheral cornea are stiffer as well compared to the center. And fortunately or unfortunately, what we have now as an RTA, it measures only the central 3 millimeters. And I think that what limits the big interpretation about how the cornea is doing, because I'll explain later why. I still have 7 minutes. The corneal hysteresis and corneal resistance factor values were significantly lower in keratoconic eyes than post-LASIK eyes. So these are facts before I start. We know that the keratoconus patients have lower hysteresis and lower CRF. This is, we know for fact. But the problem, how can we apply this technology in our practice to, because most of the time where we'll need it, we will not need it in a very frank keratoconus, right? Where we need this technology, we need it borderline, we are not sure, how can it help? That's how we'll go. Or patient who's coming with a little bit high astigmatism on topography and the posterior float is slightly elevated. Is it a change that's happening post-refractive, or is the patient ectatic? That's where we can apply this. But unfortunately, till today, the technology is not that sharp that can tell you, but yet it can add a factor to the puzzle. So you have a puzzle, it can give you one piece that you can fix it in order to come to a conclusion. Here I'm just showing those facts. This actually was reported and published by Ambrosio in 2007, I guess. Yeah, I think it was 2006, sorry. And here what he was showing basically is the hysteresis and the pachymetry. There is a relationship between both the pachymetry and hysteresis, but it's not as with the CRF. CRF is more. And here he was correlating between corneal resistance factor and hysteresis at the same time. And there is a relationship because we discussed earlier that they are using both P1 and P2, and the other one is multiplied by a factor, which is the CRF. So it's very logical that you'll see that there is this. So there are some limiting factors to this technology because there is a theory, there are different theories about ectasia. There are some people who think that ectasia starts in a localized point, and this affects the distribution of the pressure because obviously a thinner area or a weaker area will bulge more compared to the others. And this puts the eye into a vicious cycle where you just start with a thinner area. The thinner area gives you increased strain, redistribute, increased curvature, increases the stress, and you just go into vicious cycle. And maybe this is what explains the fast progression in certain patients compared to the others, though you can see most of the cornea is flat and one area is just going very fast. So this is one limitation actually of the, because if you have one localized area, your machine might not detect the whole thing. So age and biomechanics, I think I alluded to this. Generally speaking, there is a significant difference between the very young patients and the very old patients when they were compared for their corneal hysteresis and CRF. Also, corneal hysteresis was lower than normal after refractive surgery, but it's not significantly lower compared to the normal, or it's not too close to the borderline keratoconus. So we know that. So the ethnicity, again, that's another factor that we have to keep in mind. In a study which was done in Bordeaux, in France, they have pointed out that there was a significant difference in CRF specifically when they compared the Moroccans, Tunisian, Algerians, who are North African, to the French ethnicity. It was significant difference. So these are real limitation of this. Keratoconus, we know in high grade, you will find very low readings, 7 or 8, because the normal, usually you have 10.5 or 10.8 usually in both readings. But here you'll have them around 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, around that. So, and it's not helping me in frank keratoconus. I don't need anybody to tell me that this is keratoconus because I know. I need for those lower ones. And still the technology is not there. Yet, it's low specificity, low sensitivity, about 67 to 70%, but still it can provide some information that you can add to your puzzle, and you might come up with an answer. Refractive surgery, it was shown that your readings will go down after refractive surgery in the range of 10s or around 9 and 10. It's higher than those because the normal usually is 10.5 and above. So these changes are there. So people are observing more and more. There is a good relation between the corrected refractive defect and the change in biomechanics. So the more you remove from your cornea, obviously the tensile strength of the cornea will go down, and this explains it very well. If you remove 5 diopters, it's different from removing for 1 diopter or 2 diopters. So again, here, cross-linking. The papers failed to show a big change in biomechanics when it comes to cross-linking for keratoconus. When we read, we don't have this huge change to document our change after cross-linking. Yet, we all agree that the cornea is stiffer, but this technology is failing to do that. This is just comparing the early biomechanical keratoconus pattern, and I think I alluded to this. I'll try to make, so here is the normal. Generally, how do we see the curves? The curves, generally, you have this normal pressure. This is a normal one. Keratoconus, they are always lower. Patients with corneal gottata or pseudophakic bullous, they usually have a lower reading than normal because of the rigidity of the cornea. Post LASIK, it changes. This is just to show you how it looks. 25 seconds. Conclusion, at present, the biomechanical analyzer does not measure materials data, but rather assess macroscopic tissue behavior, surface acceleration, and applanation delay. It's not a myth, yet it's not for reality. More work is needed till it becomes perfect, and it's a tool that can add a small detail to the equation. And I'd like to thank you and remind you of your take-home message. This is the take-home message. Thank you very much.